Good afternoon, and welcome to our webinar for today, which is about strategies for home care marketing. And I think you will enjoy this presentation. But before we start, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. I have everyone on mute mode, which means that you can hear us, hopefully, but we cannot hear you. So if you have a question, and we hope you will ask questions, there is a question box on the right-hand side of your screen, and you can just type in your questions, and we will answer those at the end of the webinar. And if we don't get to your question by the end of the webinar, we will definitely answer it offline. Also, I need to mention that this, because it's being recorded, we will then upload it to our CoreCubed.com events page, and you may listen to it as many times as you would like to do that and share it with as many people as you would like, but we do not send our slides out. So just so you will know that. I am Merrily Orsini. I did not introduce myself previously, but I work here at CoreCubed, and I founded the company. But I've been in home care for a long time, and I'm still very, very interested in what's going on nationally in home care. And I do travel a lot, I do speak a lot, and I hope you will communicate with me when you have questions about marketing. But in addition to me, we have two other presenters today. One is Amy Selle, who is our managing director, and Amy also has a long history of being in marketing for aging care, and she is an award-winning marketing strategist, and she also works directly with our clients and does a lot of branding work, and also works with SEO and some others. Amy, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, and welcome everyone.
And we also have Marissa Snook. Now, Marissa is also a managing director of CoreCubed, but she, in addition, manages our MOST program, which is our turnkey marketing program specifically for home care. Marissa has been with us a while and has been instrumental in home care marketing since 2005. So we have lots of combined experience here in terms of helping you make your business be successful. Just as there is no one-size-fits-all for aging care, and by that we mean everyone who has an aging care need is going to be different. There may be some similarities, but for the most part, they are different. They will be different in whatever their need for care is. They will be different in their availability of support. They will be different in their ability to pay for services, and they will be different in their personalities and how they deal with you and with the caregivers that you send into their home. And just as there is no one-size-fits-all for aging care, the same is true for a strategy to go to market. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about 3 specific go-to-market strategies that in our many years of experience we have worked with people to implement, and we're hoping that you will find one of these strategies that resonates with you. But before we talk strategy, there are 2 things that we are not going to talk about today, although we are going to talk about them for just a few minutes because they are so crucial to being successful in this, what is now a very highly competitive market and an industry that is not at the mature level, but definitely more mature than in the past. And those 2 things are quality, meaning that in order to win, in order to get the service, in order to have people find you, contact you for care, you must provide quality. And the other thing is that you must have a digital presence. And I'm just going to talk a little bit more about quality. And Marissa and Amy, you can come in at any time, but we're not going to talk specifically about these things. I just want you to be aware that as I know there's a lot of people who are just starting in home care on this webinar today, and there is a lot of work to be done in order to be successful in this market. So, and that really starts with hiring and retaining the best in your caregivers, and that also means training them. It also means you must have efficient systems in place so that, and that's a lot of systems, not just your scheduling system, but your business management systems and your recruitment, retention. All those systems must be efficient and in place, and you must continue to make certain that you are providing the best service in the most efficient way as possible. And then customer service. Particularly in private pay home care, customer service is crucial because the person is paying for service and they are entrusting you to care for one of their most prized possessions or most prized relationships. And so quality is really something that is a given if you're going to be successful in your marketing. And when I talk about the digital, what I mean is you must have a website. I haven't mentioned branding and messaging. That's a component of quality, but that also translates over into your digital presence. So a branded website that was created with SEO in mind. So you also must have educational content and helpful content that you're using in a variety of ways across multiple channels. So there really are those two basic things. Again, we're not going to talk about those, but I want you to know that.
Just to drive that digital message home, recently read some statistics that over 80% of the United States is now online, and not only that, but the most researched topic is healthcare questions, and then on top of that, the people who most turn to the web for resources and information are those who are caregivers, family caregivers, looking for information and tips. So that really drives home that message of how important the digital is to your business.
Yeah, thanks for that reinforcement, Marissa, because I'm fond of saying we're really in a changing world, obviously, in a lot of different aspects, but the Internet has changed so greatly how we do get information. And I know that this whole idea of the micro marketing moments comes along with digital as well, because you're right, people are searching, well, for questions about healthcare more than any other thing. So they're also doing it 24/7, 365, and on multiple devices. So it is becoming more and more important. And again, we have lots of webinars and information about that. And what we're really going to try to focus on today is thinking of a strategy, an overarching strategy that you could implement with a clear goal and clear vision and clear steps, so that you're really conscious of what kind of service that you are providing. And we have this divided into 3 different strategies that we know work. So the first one is the high quality and high price but low volume. And that's a scary one to people, because you do have a low volume, and which means that each of your clients has a greater percentage of your revenue. But it is a model that does work, and we have clients all over the country that use this model. It is an easier model simply because you don't have as many caregivers as you do with other models, but it's a harder model in that you have so much more ongoing contact and responsibility with your customers, with your clients. And because it is very high quality, and because the price might be higher than everyone else in your vicinity, the quality really does have to show through here.
I've seen clients who use this strategy that end up with a waiting list of, they become so sought after because it is such high quality service that even though their clientele does have a higher percentage of their revenue, they've got plenty of people to fill that gap if they lose a client.
Yes, and it is there. It is a model that works in almost any location, because there are people in the age range of those who are currently needing care who have worked their whole life and were amassing their wealth when interest rates were 10%, 14%, 18%, and when the entry into buying houses was low, and real estate prices have, other than the dip back in 2008, they're really higher now. So it is something that works. Again, these are strategies you strive towards. We'll talk a little bit more about how to mix some of them, but if you have that in mind, then that does change how you take your inquiries, how you go to market, how you present yourself, your branding. All of those things are tied up in that. The second strategy is high volume and a more of a discounted price and lower hours per client. That doesn't mean lower total hours. You're probably going to have a whole lot more hours in this model than in your high quality, high price, low volume model. And you're certainly going to have a whole lot more caregivers. I oftentimes see people taking every single opportunity to provide service, and this really is a strategy that allows you to service more people, but it really works best if you have a geographic area that you can cluster the care in, because you are going to have people who just want a little bit of service on a regular basis, and maybe 2 or 3 times a day. It can also work in neighborhoods where you have either naturally occurring retirement communities, or you have a neighborhood that is banded together like in Boston, the Beacon Village. Beacon Hill, sorry, I just had a senior moment there for a second. So you guys send me inquiries so when I need my help for my senior moments. Specialized care is this third strategy, and that's really where you focus on some specific thing, whether it's Alzheimer's or whether it is some highly medical post-surgery acute service that you're focused on, or COPD, diabetes, some of the chronic diseases that affect the population that we serve. So these are the 3 strategies, and we're going to go a little deeper into each one of these and talk about what we recommend. Once you pick a strategy, what does the marketing look like around that strategy? So my favorite, which is high quality, high price, low volume, this is one where you really do have to position yourself as an expert. And that happens over time. So you can do a lot of things to position yourself as an expert, but everything you're doing is focusing on how you can help people solve those problems that they have related to issues surrounding care. This also is a model where, although all models I guess, but this one more so, you really have to do a lot of networking and in-person relationship building, because you are seeking people who are in a wealthier environment or servicing people in a wealthier environment. So there really is, you can focus on specific referral sources, and I'm thinking trust officers, estate and trust attorneys, elder law attorneys, those kinds of referral sources who deal with people who do have means to pay for care from frailty to the grave. The other thing, though, that works here is digital marketing, because, again, we've already talked about the presence, but more than any other model, you really do have to have a good brand essence and good brand messaging, and you have to understand specifically how to actually have all the parts work together, because you really do want that quality to show through when someone finds your agency and when you're talking about your agency or when you're presenting.
Yeah, I think it's important to know with this strategy that you're working with a very discerning audience, and so their assessment and judgment of your, the way your site looks, your branding is going to be very refined, and they're looking for something, a brand that speaks to them, so you really want that to be finely tuned.
Now the targets for this higher the higher service, higher quality, low volume care, the targets, and this is one reason digital really works well here, is anybody that has a care need or anyone that knows anyone with a care need and who has the financial resources to pay for care. I mean, that is really your market. So it's very, it's difficult to find these people because they could be anywhere, and they simply have amassed enough money to be able to pay for that care, and you have to have yourself found by the people who are helping them seek care. So that would also include those professionals I talked about who service an affluent clientele. So, and not just the lawyers and the trust officers, but also there are physicians, there are clergy, there are a whole list of professionals who do work with affluent clientele, and they need as much help as anyone else. So you're trying to reach those people. The other thing would be families who have been in the community a long time and been very philanthropic, and they will have buildings named after them, expressways, yeah, all kinds of manner of recognition in the community, but that also gives you an idea of who those people are and when you're trying to reach them. The second strategy that we are talking about is this a higher volume, and discounting the price a bit because of that high volume and lower hours per client. So this works particularly well in facilities who want to keep the residents in place, because they really do. It's very hard when someone leaves a room or a bed because you've got to fill that bed again. So
yeah, and what I would add to that is that that's true in both independent living and in assisted living. So, not only does the facility want to keep the client in the accommodation that they're currently in, families also want that because, as a resident ages, the ability to make a move becomes harder on the resident, and so keeping them in the accommodation that they're currently in is best for the facility and also best for the resident and their family.
I just from observation, and I don't have statistics on this, Amy, you may have statistics, but it does seem to me that when people make that decision to move from home to another place, it is oftentimes done almost too late in the process for them to live independently. And when that happens, then people do need help living independently, and oftentimes the facilities will not have the capacity to care for that person at the level of care that they need. Or if they have some illness, that also happens. So,
yeah, I don't have any statistics at my fingertips right now, but my professional experience tells me that in residential senior living, most people's goal is to stay at home as long as possible. So by the time they're moving, their need is very high.
Yes, and I don't think we as an industry, and I'm using a very broad we as an aging care industry, are very good at helping people discern which of those options are really the best option for them given all of the all the pieces that need to fit together. So we end up with a lot of people. The whole point of this is we do end up with a lot of people in places where they really shouldn't be and they need more help. So, and you can help them. It's a great opportunity for home care. You do need, though, in a facility, you need to find the person who makes the decisions, and that would be the administrator usually. And there's ways to get in front of them. If you some of these things, when we're recommending it, you may not be able to find that administrator and get an appointment and say, okay, let me service your facility all within the span of a week. You may have to spend quite a bit of time in presenting yourself in front of that facility and their residents so that you become a known entity, and then you can get in and provide the care. And some of the ways to do that, a great way is, again, back to presentations. If your state has a requirement for CEUs, you can actually get presentations accepted for CEUs, and you can do those presentations to their staff. So you will endear yourself to those people who need CEUs, and you can become their friend and build that relationship, and have them start referring to you and using you in their facility by offering those CEUs. The other thing is activities, and it can be anything. It could be bringing in some entertainment. It could be providing an activity yourself.
I had a client once who gave tea parties in the facilities, and they had dolls for, it was a dementia facility, so they had dolls and they had a tea party, and everyone loved it, including the staff, who was very appreciative.
Well, and people bring dogs in, the therapy dogs, and people, have, if they belong to a personal dancing kind of a class or something, or acro yoga, you can also bring the class in, and the people who are in a facility are hungry for different types of stimulation and different types of entertainment, so you can get in front of them doing that. And I don't want to forget digital, because once you are doing something well, then you can showcase that, and digital is a great way for people to find out what you're doing, because if they're looking for something similar to that, then they can find you that way. So who are your targets? We mentioned a few of these, but you've also, you can search for the residential facilities, retirement, continuing care retirement communities, independent living clusters, any kind of place where you have older people clustered together. So, and it could just be neighborhoods, and if there's transportation to get there too, that's the other thing. You've got to be able to offer this service, but the reason it can be cheaper and you can do higher volume is that you are not going to have a lot of travel in between.
Right. It could be homeowners associations or condo associations of, areas where you've got a lot of residents over 75.
Specialized care is this third strategy that we're talking about, and there's all types of subsets of chronically ill, and I think it's really a matter of finding where you're comfortable, but because there is training involved. I mean, if you're going to specialize in some subset of a chronically ill population, then you really do need to know what you're doing, and you need to be able to message that, because you can market directly to the public, again, through how you're presenting yourself online and how you're presenting yourself as you're out educating. But there's also payers who, in this changing healthcare delivery world, I should say changing healthcare at home world, there are more and more people who are starting to pay for care at home, because it is the least expensive model for care. And that would be the insurance companies, workers' comp carriers, managed care organizations. And there's also in select communities, we have seen religious organizations who are paying for care. So there might be some other Funding, veterans is another one, although veteran care wouldn't be specifically specialized care because each veteran is going to be independent in terms of what their needs are, but it definitely would be a niche market that you could offer as a specialty in care. SEO is really the best way to get found for specialized service. And SEO, if you don't know it, is search engine optimization. Search engine optimization is a very complicated, didn't used to be so complicated, but as the websites are growing. Marissa, I just listened to a webinar you were on the other day, and you were on a site that was telling you how many websites there are in the world today. Do you remember that number? I think it's in the it's astronomical. I was going to say it's in the billions. So, so search engine optimization is really how you build your website and how you actually do the things you need to do to be found in search engines. The legal white hat things.
And what I would say, to oversimplify it a bit, but to really drive home the point, is that search engine optimization is the way to target the people who have a need now and who are looking right now. And when you compare that to other forms of marketing that you might be putting your budget dollars toward, like radio or newspaper or advertising on other people's websites, with all of those, you are showing your information to people who might be looking. With SEO, you are targeting the people who are looking.
And if you provide specialized care, and that's one of the things people look for. We know that when people search for home care, they do start with just home care, that generic search. But what they're going to be looking for in that search is someone who knows how to provide care for whatever the issue their loved one has. And so along with search engine optimization in terms of a specialized service, and again, it's a little different. You're not just marketing home care. You're marketing the fact that you provide this specialized service. And reviews are critical. Reviews are actually critical to all home care, but they're especially critical when we're talking about search engine optimization and trying to get found for a specialized service. The other thing is you do have the capacity, because you can target these people specifically, you can use direct communication with those people. So I'm thinking of a nurture campaign or an automated email campaign that is more specific to what you're doing and being able to target people. You can attract people by the fact that you do have the specialized service, and then you collect their names, and then you can continue to put them through planned communication so that as they're getting ready to make a decision, your agency more and more comes up as the one that they should call, because you know exactly what you're doing to solve their problem. Now, the targets for specialized care, you do have a wide consumer appeal. There are a lot of people who have absolutely no clue where to turn when a problem arises. We still find in today's population, even though home care has become more and more prevalent and better known, people really still don't know the difference between Medicare certified home care, private duty home care, Medicaid, and they don't understand who pays for it, can it be reimbursed, all of those kinds of things. So you do have the opportunity for wide consumer appeal for specialized care. The other thing is you have a wonderful opportunity to become active in and network with those associations and the support groups who work with that chronic disease state or the disease state that you've chosen to specialize in. And then, of course, the professionals who treat those who have those chronic diseases. So you really do have some specific targets for for this that that in the other two you really don't have, except I guess you do have it somewhat in the facilities. You know, these three strategies are not mutually exclusive, because you could do both of them and have a specialized care, or when you're working on a strategy, you might get inquiries from other people. I have a great story about specialized care in Louisville, Kentucky that I love telling, which had to do with our Jewish hospital here. And it was widely known as a fabulous place to go if you had a heart issue. The first heart transplant was done there, and they had, for many, many years, had just an outstanding program treating heart disease that was based on artificial hearts and keeping people alive before they could get a heart transplant. So, and in that time period, while that was going on, there was a community-wide survey done, and because Jewish had done such a wonderful job of focusing on how world-class they were in the heart area, one of the questions on the survey was, who does the best obstetrical service in the city? And Jewish Hospital won. And Jewish Hospital has never had obstetrical services. So what happened was that people recognized them as an expert and world-class hospital in heart, and that transferred in their mind over to that they must do everything else well too. So if you are really, really good at one thing, then you are going to get inquiries about other things, and it then becomes up to you to decide, do you want to service those people or not? Are they in your geographic area? Is it something your caregivers are trained to do? So if you can service them well, then by all means you can accept them as clients. And that does not negate your strategy. You continue to move forward with your strategy. You just enjoy your business growth. So this really sums up these basic three strategies. And we have seen more success with companies that adopt a strategy and work that strategy for at least 6 months, and I would say actually more like a year. It does mean making choices. It does mean focusing. You cannot be all things to all people, but it also, if you have your strategy aligned with your marketing efforts, aligned with your recruitment and your retention efforts, if you have all of those things aligned together so that people understand how your agency is different and what they're expected to do when they're there, then you will have much more success than if you are just trying to be all things to all people and scurrying around trying to figure out what to do.
Right. I think I had a friend, actually a colleague, who used to say, without a map, any road will do, and you'll find yourself, out there wandering and just doing whatever comes along. So it's important to have a strategy. It's also important to know that, it can be trial and error. You really need to test out the strategy, measure how it's working, and adjust based on what you're seeing from the measurements that you're taking.
And to be realistic, one of the issues that, and I've, in my consulting with home care clients over the years, I will see a client who has been doing the high volume, discounted price, lower hours model, and sometimes that is a reimbursed model from someone else. So I've seen that service, and then that agency decides they want to get into a more high quality, higher price, lower volume care because they feel like it would be more beneficial for them to do that. So, but the problem is they don't understand that the strategy changes because a person who loves their job and loves going to 6 or 7 different people a day or 5 different people a day, whatever, and doing small things for them quickly, is not going to be the same person that's happy in spending an 8-hour day with one person. So it really is a different kind of service, and it requires different skill sets and different training and even different types of people. So you have to really plan it throughout your organization to decide which of these you're going to choose and which one is going to be best for you. So how do you do that? Well, what we suggest is you first, if you have a business now, if you're not just beginning out, just starting out, then you need to look at your current client base. You need to, are there clusters there, and any kind of clusters? So are there clusters of geography? Are you servicing a certain area of town? Are there clusters of people who use the same doctor? Are there clusters of people who have the same disease state? So, I mean, you really do need to do some analysis of what you are currently doing and where you are currently being successful. You also need to look at who's referring to you. And do you have multiple referrals from the same physician or physician's practice or country club or church or senior center? I mean, who is referring to you? And if you are not having people that refer to you and you don't have that built up, then you have to look within your own ability to make contacts. And is there anyone that you know, that your family knows, that your neighbors know, that your colleagues in any type of professional group you're in know, that might serve as a conduit to referrals for you?
I think that last point is especially important for those of you who may just be starting out. You have a new agency and you don't have a big client base or a lot of referrals yet. You really need to think about what your strong points are, what your connections are, and play off of that, because that's going to be the most logical place to start.
This concludes our presentation. I'm going to go look, and I think we have some hands raised, but I'll put our contact information up here because we've really touched the surface about strategy. I've given you some very broad stroke strategy. So interesting. One of our questions is, can I better define high quality? That's a very good question. Let's talk about high quality, because I know that it's being defined in a lot of areas. High quality means providing consistent service. So the same caregiver, for instance, with consistency, and providing that service in a way that the customer is satisfied. And that is the key and the key difference, because you may have someone that you absolutely love as a caregiver, but their personality may not match with the customer. So in that situation, you have to really find out from that customer, what are they looking for? I mean, particularly in this high quality, low volume care, you have caregivers who it's almost like a dating matching service. You are matching people for compatibilities, and not just schedules or geographic location or credentials, but soft skills. Are they talkative? Are they quiet? Does the client want someone who participates with her in activities, or wants someone who's more in a role of hired help? What about languages? Are there any language issues? The food is a huge issue, because there's so many things that revolve around food. So quality is going to be defined differently for different agencies, but for the most part, that's what I would say. Marissa, Amy, you want to weigh in on how you would define quality?
Yeah, I think if you're talking about the person who is coming to your website or experiencing your agency for the first time, high quality is having a very professional looking website, materials that you hand out, because people will make the assumption that if you are making mistakes in grammar, that you're also unprofessional in how you deliver care. So having a very well put together marketing material shows high quality, but also more and more today, people are looking for real measurement of quality. So they are looking at how your current clients are reviewing you. They're looking at if you have any kind of other customer satisfaction measures, what kinds of partnerships you have in the community, what kind of certifications you have for your staff. They're looking for not just, your narrative about your own quality, but actual ways that demonstrate tangibly that you have quality in your organization.
Marissa, you have any thoughts you want to weigh in on?
I think that was very well said. I don't have anything to add. That was great.
It's quality is one of those things. I think you know it when you see it and when you experience it. And I mentioned customer satisfaction or customer service, and that also goes towards someone's perception of quality. So, Amy, I'm so glad you mentioned branding, because particularly in this micro-marketing moment, digital age we're in, I think you've got 10 seconds when someone goes to, less than that, when they come to your website, 3 seconds. Okay, so they come to your website and they got 3 seconds to decide, is this someplace I want to stay and explore or not? The other thing is you've got, 67% of the people searching for care, I've got this wrong. It's people don't contact you until they have searched a lot for care, and there's a 67% in there somewhere, and I just forgot where that went. But
yeah, I think that's the buying journey. 67% of it is done online.
Thank you.
Researching.
Thank you. So that quality, not only in the care provision, but also in what they're seeing when they come to your website, and whether they read a blog that you wrote or find a review of your service, because people are really looking in all kinds of places before they're going to pick up that phone and call you. And then quality also goes through when they pick up the phone and call you, who answers the phone and what do they say and how responsive is your agency. So there's a lot of quality determinants that are more soft skill kind of determinants than hard. But I agree with you, Amy, that you do have to showcase how you provide quality and how you measure quality and how you define quality in order to be in that low volume, high quality component for strategy. Any other questions? Do we have? I don't think we do have any other questions at this point. So, you all have been a very attentive audience. Everyone has stayed with us through this entire presentation. And if you have questions about any of these specific strategies or how you can actually implement those, we would be certainly happy to talk to you about it, because we have been specializing in this for a pretty long time. So, either of you have anything to say before we close?
Oh, I just look forward to hearing from anybody with any questions, or if you want to know more information.
Thank you so much, everyone, and please enjoy the rest of your day and come visit us at corecubed.com. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Amy.